Welcome to the True Colours podcast, where we share our views on life, relationships, and culture, exploring big questions and providing simple answers to them, with your hosts, Jay Claire and Sally Olver.
Welcome to True Colours. Welcome, Sally.
Welcome, Jason.
I'm trying to do like an inside voice at the moment because I can't be too loud.
Why is that?
I have a 4-month-old baby sleeping and a wife trying to sleep. So I'm trying to do inside voice, which I'm not very good at.
But, let's just highlight that you're obviously very committed to the show. Because although you've got a 4-month-old baby and a wife that wants to go to sleep, here you are.
Yeah, way late at 9:25.
Oof. It's late, bro.
Mm.
Times have changed.
So it's been a very long time since we've spoken.
It's been a little while. It's been a little while.
But since we've done this.
We speak nearly every day.
Yes,
Almost. We speak all the time.
You get a WhatsApp or at least a WhatsApp of some kind.
Constantly. I love that.
We speak about random things. We check if the next nose ring is going to be worthy.
Yeah, I sent Jason a text today with a superimposed nose ring, asking his opinion and his wife's opinion, and they both affirmed.
You should just this leads into one of our discussion points. Anyway,
yeah, right, it sure does. How are you?
I'm very good. I am very, very good. Life is treating me well, even though we've been going through this crisis called COVID-19, the pandemic we had to have.
I kind of feel like I don't have the right to comment on COVID because Western Australians, man, we got off unscathed. I mean, there were people that got sick. I'm not trying to deny that, but really, we didn't have much of a lockdown. We really didn't. We had the panic. Like people were panicking flat out, but we didn't have nearly as much restriction as what the rest of the globe had. No way, because we're isolated.
But even if you look at Australia from a mortality side of things, we've fared extremely well. It actually, in hindsight, it's like, oh man, did we actually go too hard on those precautions? Because not many people died.
Well, see, you and we've got differing opinions on this. Hey, you were not impressed at all with the restriction. You weren't down. But for me,
was the opposite of down.
You were the opposite of you were up. You weren't up. You weren't up. You were neither up nor down.
You were just anti.
You were very anti. But having said that, I'll circle back to my point in a minute. Having said that, the restrictions that you had were much harsher than the restrictions that I had. So
I bring my kid to a park, man. That was weird.
Yeah.
I guess with all the security tape around the play equipment, it was just weird. And every park has this big sign that goes 1.5 meters. Make sure you understand social distancing, otherwise you'll get AIDS.
But don't. This is my point, right? And maybe I have this opinion because I didn't go through it as much as you did, so I didn't reach that level of frustration. But I was sort of like, I kind of like that the government cares about its people to keep them safe. Hey, ScoMo. Yeah, I thought that was cool.
His first innings, the bushfires, not so good. Second innings, the COVID, he did okay. I think
he did great. I mean, what else are you going to do? What else are you going to do? I thought, I don't know. And what do I know about politics?
ScoMo's vaccines or something like that. That's not going to work, is it?
No.
Scotty's in the lab.
No, but see, I embraced the lockdown. I embraced lockdown because I thought...
You went full mum.
slow mornings, late mornings, all my favourite people, apart from you, of course, but all my favourite people under one roof, all day, every day. Awesome.
I went through. I think I went through the whole grieving process through the lockdown. So it went like, you're at home and you have to work from home all the time. And I was like, oh, this is like, I don't like the feeling. This is not really good. And then like 3 weeks after, I was kind of anxious and like, what's happening with the world? What's happening with my job?
Yeah.
And then like about 5 weeks later, I was like, oh, waking up late's pretty good. And then it went like
slowly acclimatizing.
And then like about 2 months out, I was like, actually, this is pretty good.
Oh, I loved it. I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
Now it's like, I don't want to go back to work.
No. I like last week. I had a real struggle last week.
Yeah.
In that, so we were thrust back into the normalcy of life because our kids in WA, our kids had to go back the start of term 2, right? So all the kids back, that's fine. As the weeks went on, I started to go, I really miss them. I just wish they were home more again. Like, when are we ever going to get the opportunity to just be with our spouses and kids? Like, and the other thing I will say though, the other thing I will absolutely I get is the fact that
I know what you're about to say.
My kids are older. My kids are older than your kids as well, so they're a little bit more. Well, they're a lot more self-sufficient. So we would have different experiences.
Yeah, 4-month-old and 4-year-old.
And an 11-year-old. Yeah.
No sufficiency at all.
No, you need to get out.
Insufficient? Is that like a word?
Absolutely not.
Insufficient.
There you go.
That's right. English was not my first language. I keep reminding people this.
Yeah.
Because, I want people to know if I get a word wrong, it's because
bilingual.
I was 5 years delayed in speaking English. So technically I'm 35 in speaking years of English.
What do you mean you were 5 years delayed?
Well, I didn't speak English up until I was 5.
Yeah.
I never told you that story?
No. That's funny that you say that because I didn't know this until I had kids, but I didn't speak English until I was 2.
Isn't that when you just start speaking, or?
No, I spoke early. Does that surprise you?
Why would that surprise me?
Well, I'm a talkative human.
I have this feeling like that, when you have different children, you experience each one in a different way. Well, now that I've had 2, I can only compare that to the first one.
Yeah.
And I must say, like, the second one is so much better than the first.
Because you know what you're doing.
Yeah, like I feel like I'm more chilled.
You're absolutely, and you know what?
Oh, the baby's crying. There's not much I can do about that.
It's reflected in the kids. Like, Molly Bell is the most chilled out of the 3 of them because we just know what needs a certain level of attention and what doesn't. Like things like, then they're not sleeping, they have to sleep in our bed. It's like, by the 3rd kid, you're like, dude, just get in. I ain't rocking you. No. Just if you want to sleep in the bed, just sleep. Things like that you realize that it's actually not that bad. It's not going to harm them in any way. Not just that particular example, but there's a whole heap of examples that I could say that you're like, oh, okay, so my kids were big, all my babies were big, and they wanted food at like 4 or 5 months. 4 months, actually. And with Samuel, I was like, no, I can't. Like, he has to have milk until he's 6 months. And then I was on the phone to a girlfriend who's got 4 children.
Oh, no.
And she...
Too many.
She heard him crying on the phone, and she said, that kid is hungry. You got to feed him some solid food. And I said, oh, but the nurse said I can't feed him until he's 6 months old. And she was like, rubbish. Feed him. And so I fed him, he stopped crying, and he slept longer.
From what age?
4 months.
Oh, I think we need to start feeding that boy. He's like hanging for it, actually.
Your boy's
He's screaming.
He's not small. He's not small, and I can say that because I had rotund children.
Yeah.
They need to eat. He's probably hungry. It would be interesting if you just give him a little bit of pumpkin or something to see if he stops crying.
Gonna get him some of that pouch food.
Make the pumpkin
Squeeze
from
it out.
scratch, bro. Just boil it, mash it. It's not hard.
That's hard. Actually, no, we've become quite good in the kitchen of recent times.
Yeah, I have no doubt.
Yeah, we can cook. Like, I've only learned how to cook food recently properly through online training. Not training.
I disagree with that. You have cooked for me before, and it was amazing.
Was it? What did I cook for you?
I'm talking like 15, 20 years ago.
Really?
It was something like burritos or fajitas or something.
Ah.
It was good. Like,
really?
Really good. Yeah.
Oh, wow. There you go.
Mate, I think that's the only thing you've ever cooked for me, by the way. But, no, hang on. You have made me a sandwich.
Have I? Have I ever made you just a piece of steak?
Okay, let me just extrapolate for our listeners. Go to Jason's one time. We're in our early 20s. Go there at around, I don't know, random time, 3 p.m. Dude sitting in his lounge room with a plate, a fork, a knife, and a hunk of meat. No vegetables, not even fries. Just this hunk. It was a Napoleon Dynamite moment, if ever I've seen one in real life.
That's what I do. Well, that's what
real.
I did.
That was real. That was a hunk.
Mm.
It was the size of the plate, bro. There was no salad. Nothing to break it up. It's not good for your stomach.
I think I'm a carnivore.
Yeah, my Sammy is for sure. If he could just sit and eat meat.
Like, the only vegetable I really enjoy is probably potato. Is that even a vegetable?
Yeah.
It's a root vegetable, right?
Yeah, but it's a vegetable.
Is it?
Yeah. This is a thrilling conversation, by the way.
I'm glad. I'm glad.
Do you think we should get off our vegetables and eating habits?
Yeah.
And start talking about
the serious stuff?
Yeah, like, we co-created a few questions that we're going to discuss this evening.
Yeah. Are you going to tell me what those co-created questions are?
Sure. Question number 1. So,
wonder what the answers are.
Yeah, no, there are no wrong answers.
Oh, good.
And there are no stupid questions, Jason.
Oh, no such thing as a stupid question,
No.
Sally.
See, I think that's.
I hate that.
I think there are stupid questions. That's another show. So I mean, hot topic. I don't know if you would call it a hot topic.
Popular, trending.
A current issue. That's maybe a better way to phrase it. Hot topic sounds like
today's current issue brought to you by Sally Olver.
No, brought to you by True Colours, which is a great segue into what I'm about to talk about. So we have our views on.
We have views
on the current Black Lives Matter.
We're doing Black Lives Matter, are we?
I don't know that we are.
Okay.
I think we're going to skid around it because, we've only got like 5 listeners, so we don't want to reduce that.
It's a very polarizing topic, funny enough.
Well,
and I think I understand the polarization.
You know what? I think also, I will say this. I think that the range, the degree and the range and the variety of views, I feel, is reflective on personal experience. Okay, I think it's directly proportionate. Like people that are like, oh nah, it's over the top and whatever. I just wonder how close they are to the issue.
I've noticed a lot of. This is actually going to sound kind of racist, but
go on, do it.
I've noticed a lot of vocal white people, which is interesting. So I see different opinions from say for example, a black person, say in America, or the scary people, the conservative people, but a black version of a conservative. And when they speak about it, like I find listening to some of these people, I find it like they're speaking through the language that I understand through, statistics and
yes, and we had this conversation
and reason and understanding. So it makes sense to me. So I hear it, and I'm like, oh yeah, I get what this dude's talking about. When people just flail emotional diatribes, it doesn't make any sense.
Well, do we want to touch on our discussion that we had over the phone the other day? Do we want to just kind of gloss over it? So look,
I will give you my version of it, how I think everything is, in about a minute, I hope. So I think America as a country has a massive police brutality problem, more than it has a racism problem. And the reason why I say that is when I look at it statistically, I look at the numbers of, for example, the amount of people who are killed by cops, which is crazy to say there's 1,000 people get killed by cops in America. But then you need to take the step back and look at it from the amount of people that were killed who were not armed. And that's a very small percentage of those 1,000. So when you think about it, most of those people who were killed by cops, it was like a gun against a gun. So there's something going on there. But the ones that weren't, like that's an unarmed person, the overuse of force is terrible in like more than one is too many. Do you know what I mean? So when you see the likes of, the George Floyd incidents and the ones that have gone past, you're like, oh yeah, cool. I keep on seeing versions of this being the black person. But the thing that I've noticed recently that no one talks about is that white people are also killed by cops. So
sure.
And the biggest argument against that is pretty much that, but black people are overrepresented as a segment of the population. So I think they make up 14% or something of the American population. But I think of the deaths are about 40% or something. Whereas, so people are like, well, they're disproportionately killed. And I'm like, okay, that's a fair argument. But then if you look at it from a crime perspective is, all violent crime committed in America, 50% of it is by the black community. And a lot of it is black people killing other black people, like in Chicago and stuff, where they've got these gang wars and, like hundreds of kids die every month, or even thousands. Hundreds, I would say, hundreds are killed every month.
Oh, it's bad. It's really bad. Yeah.
And then you have a culture of America with guns, and then you have 800,000 people who
Precisely, and that's
there's 800,000 of them. Like, there's a lot of police there. So you just do natural numbers, and you're like, people getting in contact with the cops is going to be what ends up killing people on average.
Yeah.
And and a lot of these incidents have been people, like, I can agree that a lot of the stuff is way over the top, the way that people have handled it. But the contributing factor more than anything else is people doing crime, as petty as it might be. You know what I mean? So you can agree that people committing crimes is not a good thing, but you can also see that way worse than that, I should say, is the overuse of force as well. But I think that's a systemic police problem, training problem, people problem, hiring problem, leadership problem. within the police, they got to go hard on this stuff. They got to be like, no, we've got to cut this out. This person's fired. If there's a zero tolerance to any of this stuff, and then people move on. Like,
Yeah.
I think the solution's pretty easy, actually.
See, I don't, because I think you've said it yourself. It's a multifaceted issue. It's not one thing or another thing. So you can say it's police brutality. You can say it's crime rate. You can say it's the gun laws. You know, there are so many pieces to this puzzle, and that's why it's so complicated. And I think my understanding, and this is where we kind of helped each other the other day understand from, you know, different points of view, which is, you know, I love we have these discussions, is you brought to me, you was like, but Sal, look, statistically this, and you know, like, you've got an argument for that. There's evidence, there's concrete evidence there for your argument, right? But then, like, and that is, if you're talking strictly from a statistical viewpoint, can't argue with that, right? But what I was offering was that it's not, I don't feel that we can just cap it as a statistical thing. Like we were talking about, there is studies have shown, like, epigenetics is something that is very real. And what that is it is a generational thing, because, like, traumas and experiences have been shown to pass down in cells over time. Okay. So I feel like there is, and I'm going to say, a legitimate anger, a legitimate grieving, whether that represents as anger or not, whatever. There is a legitimate grievance in the Black culture because they have been oppressed. Now, I understand that, you know, people go, well, people have been oppressed all over the world. Okay, fine. But this is why I'm saying it's so multifaceted. No one's saying, at no point did anyone say that another nation or another culture that's been oppressed can't rise up and do the same thing. Like, if you're going to put hashtag Black Lives Matter, no one ever said, so that just means Black lives are more important. No one's saying that. What I think what my take on it is, you are talking about a people that have been oppressed. And I know there are definitely a lot of other a lot of other peoples around the world that have been oppressed as well. I'm not saying they're not. That's where I think people miss the point. This people, let's just talk about this particular people, have come from a line of brutal oppression, and it's in the psyche. That has been passed down over generation in the psyche. So one thing triggers it. One thing triggers, and you're going to get an uprising. It's not as simple as going, oh, you know, heaps of other people are being shot. It's not just George Floyd. That's such a simplistic way of looking at it. It's not about that. It's about a people trying to say, we've had enough. And I don't think there's any Black person that's saying just stop police brutality for Black people. I don't think they're saying that. I'm not hearing that. But I think maybe because it's what we see is that it's happening more in those communities, that it's more prevalent. Maybe is that the connection?
Well, I loved that angle that you sort of brought in for me, understanding from that epigenetic, is that what you call it, angle? And I 100% agree. Like, I think I put it from a perspective of, I would phrase it more in the angle of, how can the Black community in America introspectively look at their own culture and understand that this may be part of their psyche. So what can they do to ultimately overcome that
Sure. So can you see how it's multifaceted?
Yeah, I totally agree.
That's my point.
But that's what I'm saying, and probably a lot to do with what I would suggest is a part of the solution to the problem is saying, well, how I hate this idea of where everyone like pisses on people who are above them and wants to bring them down. I think the better way of looking at it is saying there are people up here. We need to lift these other people up.
Of course. And how can we work together?
Yeah.
How can we work together? And that's not just leadership making decisions. That's people, as you say, rising up as well, saying we want to. Like I'm not mad at the protesters. I've got to say that straight out the gate. I'm not mad at anyone who's marching, anyone protesting. They are that's their way of expressing. But I think if that's all you're going to do, that's not helpful. Have your say, absolutely, but then we need to see the change.
Yeah, and this is the thing that I wonder. It's like I like movements. Like I understand the broad. See, when you say BLM or Black Lives Matter, I say from a sentiment standpoint is 100% like it's like agree with that. Like there's nothing in my bones that has any problem with that as a sentiment and as a saying. What I have not enjoyed is what's happened to it as a sort of pseudo political movement, like rather than it being about, yeah, cool. I want to know what, as a whole, what they want to do to fix all the problems of the black people, not like, oh yeah, cops are bad, yeah, blah blah. It's like, yeah, cool, we get that, everyone knows that. It's not news, and we need to fix that hardcore. But what else do we need to fix? What else is there? There's heaps that we can fix. Yeah. So let's look at it holistically and say, cool. A part of all these problems are A, B, C, D, E. You know, the E part where cops are killing people, we need to fix that. But we also need to do D, C, B, and A as well. So
because
it's a big problem. As I said, it's multifaceted. So how do you chip away at all those different areas? And
I don't know, and that's why I have no interest in politics, because I actually don't have an answer. And that's why I have very little opinion on what world leaders, the choices world leaders make, because I don't follow politics. And the reason I don't follow politics is because I don't feel like I'm ever getting an honest answer. Like I tried, and I actually really enjoy politics. I think it's fascinating and it's brilliant and it's smart and it's interesting. But my problem with it is I never felt like I was getting the truth. You know, like how people, like they'll be prime minister or president or whatever, and they're like this, and then their term ends, and then they write a book, and you hear all the real stuff, and you're like, that's the person I wanted to know. Like, I actually like you now.
Yeah, it's quite interesting you say that.
You know what I mean? Like, that's why I don't have an opinion on what world leaders do or say, because number one, I'm not them. Number two, I don't have their job. I couldn't do their job. And number three, I never feel like I'm being told the whole truth anyway. So I just kind of, not that this is the right thing, but I kind of bury my head in the sand a little bit, because I'm just like, well, I'm not getting the true story anyway. So.
Well, this is the thing that I look into a lot more now, and I ask, the way to try and understand anything, I think, is to understand what is it. That's how I do. I work everything out by like compared to what. So I need the perspective to understand.
Sure, that's how your brain works.
Yeah. So I think about like from an issue standpoint. I'm like, okay, cool. I understand that that's a problem. But compared to what, and it sounds weird that you think about human issues that way, but that's unfortunately just how I think.
Yeah.
And it's not at an attempt to disrespect anything.
We have to have difference in processing and difference of opinion, otherwise we'll never grow.
Yeah.
We have to. It's the way that it's handled.
Mm-hmm.
You and we disagree on stuff all the time, but we handle it in a way that's respectful and honouring and open. And then we both grow from it. You know what? We should be prime minister.
And we can build this world together.
Ebony And ebony.
Ebony and caramel.
Oh, okay.
So this is what I mean by a political movement and things just stupid things coming from it. And I'm like, do you just lose the point of what you're talking about?
Look, there is definitely a mob mentality element to it. There's no doubt about it. But again, I don't hate that. I'm not mad at that.
But because even like stuff like, I hate when I hear a slogan like silence is violence. And I'm like, come on, mate. Have you got a brain in there? Knock, knock, knock. Silence is violence. So if you don't have an opinion on something, you're now violent.
Yeah, it's a stretch, isn't it?
Yeah, a stretch.
Well,
My shit doesn't stink, Sally, is less true than that.
I think what they're saying is if you're passive. I don't think that's relating to if you have no opinion. I don't think that.
If you're on the fence.
If you're on the
You're nasty Nigel.
No. I think it's like if you do have an opinion and you're not voicing that, but still violent. That's extreme.
Okay, and then my next follow-up to that is, listen to this headline. Have your kids ever been into Paw Patrol?
They very briefly.
So you know it's a kid's cartoon.
Yeah, come on, bring it. Yep.
Right, so this is the headline. I guarantee you will be shocked and amazed at the same time. Paw Patrol's cartoon dog Chase targeted by protesters amid Black Lives Matter movement. So to give some context, Chase is a puppy superhero dog who has a police outfit. So he's now offensive.
So are we just not going to have police now? Ever?
Did you hear about those places in America that they want to defund the police? And I'm like, it's a bad choice you're making, America, right now.
Defund?
Yeah.
How is that gonna address police brutality?
We should defund Parliament because they never do anything good for us.
See, I told you, this is why I don't listen to politics.
Slippery slide. Yeah. So yeah. What do we do? It's obviously a very 2020.
It's
2020 vision to see all the shit in the world. That's what's going on. Even though the world, I say this to people all the time. I said, do you know actually how awesome the world is?
Oh,
I wish more people would think that.
There's a lot of good. But there's a lot of pain as well. There's a lot of pain.
What?
There's a lot of come on, man. You can't be that rose-colored. There's a lot of, there's poverty, there's crime, there's abuse, I'm not going to sit and dwell on it, but that's a reality.
Yeah.
Hunger.
That is a reality. Yeah, I this is why I say statistically, whenever I hear me complaining about COVID bans, they're like, that's ridiculous when you put it in perspective.
Totally.
But then I flip it and say, oh, you're so scared about, you don't want people to die. You don't want to, so the thing with COVID is I was like, well, let's just everyone go out and see,
what happens. You're not the only person that had that view. There were a lot who were just like, let's just, what's the worst that can happen? COVID's the worst that can happen.
Nah. Well, the way I look at it is that
statistically,
I'm like, if you're so worried about people dying, what are you doing about the 3.1 million children that die every year from hunger? What are you doing?
Come on.
What are you doing?
Fair question.
So if you're worried about other people dying from a virus, I think it's more that you're afraid of dying from the virus. Don't say it about other people. Just say, I'm afraid of dying. That's fine. But say that. Don't say you're scared for other people. That's dumb.
So there are no dumb questions, but they're dumb responses.
Yes, correct.
Excellent.
So what else were we going to talk about? We got touch on stereotypes and stuff like that. Is that what we're doing here?
Well, we kind of. I think we might save that for another discussion, bro. I think we had some meaty discussion just then. We weren't going to.
I was afraid. BLM podcast.
I was afraid. Like I was like, oh, I don't know. And then I'm like, you know what? No, it's okay for me to have an opinion.
You know what bizarre thought I was having inside my head? I was like, am I like brown enough to talk about this openly, or
yes?
This is what I don't get. I'm like,
we are.
We are? Yeah, I am the biggest mongrel in the world. I can talk about everyone.
Well, do you know, today, Sam's got a girlfriend. All we know is her name's Jasmine, right? Nate comes into me, goes, Mum, I found out Jasmine's white. I'm like, yeah. And he goes, we're going to keep her? I'm like, yeah, bro. I'm sure she's a very lovely girl.
Mm. No,
he's like doing the.
How does Matt go? Matt's pretty bronzed himself, so you're kind of just like a bronzed family, really.
Yeah, we are bronzed. We are kissed by the sun. Yeah. I am waving the brown flag.
Like I was like trying to look at my kids the other day. I'm like, yeah, Lucy, you're pretty white. And
yeah, your kids are. Oh, I think Bowie's a little bit darker.
He's got a bit of bronze. I call him the bronze Buddha. Because he's round and bronzed.
Oh, I haven't even seen him. Why don't you hit me with some of these unpopular
I'll give you one.
All right.
Cake is not that good.
I think it's overrated.
Really?
I think cake's overrated. Unless it's like a really quite gourmet, I think it's overrated. You know what I think's overrated? Do you know what? Chocolate cake. I think it's stupid. Unless it's like a mud cake, it's like rich and
it's like eating chocolate. Is that what you mean?
No, it's like eating just crumbs that are brown. I don't like chocolate cake. Unless it's really, really chocolatey. It's got to be rich. Otherwise, I'm just like, yeah, nah.
Name me 3 things you'd take over cake as a dessert.
Oh, my all-time favourite's apple crumble. Yeah. Hot apple crumble with ice cream. Number 1.
Yeah,
I really, really, really like pavlova.
Oh, yuck.
I love it. And
sweet. That's when you like it.
Yeah, I don't like the sweetness, but I like the texture of the crumbly and the.
Before you go, the one I don't understand, trifle. I'm like, what the hell is that shit? It's just layers of crap that they chuck in the fridge.
It's like okay, what do we have in our fridge? Yeah, just put a layer of that, and then another layer of something, and then put custard, and then jelly, and then another layer of something. Serve.
It's like white people dessert.
And you can put fruit in it or lollies.
Fruit and jelly. That's an unpopular opinion, but definitely no. Fruit and jelly is like pineapple on pizza.
No. Keep your fruit and your savouries separate. We are very strong on this opinion.
I need your number 3. I think it's cake. I think if you can't think of anything, cake is your number 3.
Dessert?
Yeah.
What about something like a chocolate mousse or something?
What are you talking about?
Chocolate mousse is good? What's wrong with chocolate mousse? What's your beef with the mousse, man?
What about chocolate pudding? I don't even know what that is.
Yeah. But see how that's just like hot cake, right? But it's more chocolatey. It's not just like cake that's brown.
Dry.
Yes. Yes.
So what
Thank
it is,
you.
it's the dryness.
Yeah, the dryness, man. Can't do it. Like, yeah, no, I'm all right. I'm good.
All right. On that note,
On the dry.
Call it a night in honor of I don't know where I was going with that. So in honor of nothing. America.
Yeah.
They've got to sort some shit out.
Yeah. Good to see ya.
Yeah, likewise.
Yeah.
Hopefully it was an enthralling discussion for everyone out there. And if you enjoyed it, please subscribe. We're now up to 85 subscribers, nearly at 100, Sally.
Oh, whoa! It's good.
Once you hit that triple figures, you know you've made it in YouTube land. No, not even close.
It's a seed.
If we monetized our videos right now, we'd make like 10 cents a year.
Amazing. Amazing. But you know what? We don't do it for that. We don't do it for approval. We don't do it for likes. We don't do it for numbers. We don't do it for money. We do it because it's something that you and I can do together, collaboratively, over the nullable flame. Yeah, I definitely said that wrong. Collaboratively.
Plus, we would have been talking anyway, so yeah. So it works out.
We just record it.
All right, Salsa. You enjoy the rest of your week, and let's try and keep going on a bit of a vibe.
Yeah, let's do it.
Bit of a marbo.
Yep.
All right. See you, dude.
Bye.
Yeah.